everyone. Welcome to another episode of Avenue A, where we talk acting, networking, and the industry. I'm your host, Kelsey Bentz, and for those of you who are tuning in for the first time, welcome. I'm so glad to have you. For those who are returning viewers, loyal viewers, friends, family, thank you. I thrive off of your support. I'm super excited for today's episode, especially after, the crazy week we've had this election week. I can't believe it's like not even over. I feel like I'm in this weird time void. Not really sure what's happening, but I'm glad to be here. It's like a very great distraction. So I hope that this show serves as a good distraction for you too on this Friday evening of the election week. So I have two very special guests joining me on the show today, which is a first for Avenue A. I've only ever interviewed one guest at a time. So this is kind of, season 2. We're moving, we're shaking, we're spicing things up. We have two guests. So Dana, thank you for tuning in. Such a fun guest lineup. Yes. So let me, without further ado, introduce the guests that we have on today. It's very, very exciting. So our two guests are Matt Schick and Derek Hughes. So a little bit about them. Matt Schick is a self-described energetic workhorse with expertise in creative concept development and a versatile background in producing for television, commercial, and live theatrical engagements. Perhaps most notably, Matt is the producer of Michael Carbonaro Live, and he partnered with Michael Carbonaro of True TV's The Carbonaro Effect on the development of his debut theatrical production, touring over 140 nationwide markets. Matt transitioned seamlessly into this fully digital moment by undertaking virtual live-streamed productions. Most recently, Matt and his team produced a live-streamed virtual event for the Washington Democrats on November 3rd this week. Matt also produces for our second guest, stand-up magician Derek Hughes. The live performances of celebrated conjurer, stand-up magician Derek Hughes have been lauded by audience and critics alike, with the New York Times calling him thoroughly entertaining. Hughes has performed his magic on MTV, VH1, Comedy Central, the CW's Penn and Teller Fool Us, and The Ellen DeGeneres Show. He's also a consulting producer on True TV's hit magic series, The Carbonaro Effect, and was a finalist on season 10 of NBC's America's Got Talent. So before I bring on our guests, I want to give you a little context for Derek. We have a little clip from his original 2015 audition for America's Got Talent. So I hope you enjoy.
I will show you something you have never seen before. I have a pack of playing cards. Howard, do you mind helping with this?
Sure.
You say stop anywhere you want as the cards fall.
Stop.
Right there?
Yes.
Okay, this is Howard's card. You got it, Heidi? 2 of spades. Deck of cards. Get ready. 1, 2. That's the disappearing card trick. We've seen that trick before. But look, watch, look, watch, look, watch. I'm gonna take this off so you don't get confused when I say watch. Look. Shirt tucked in. Zipper fly up. Zipper fly down. Look, hands empty. Sleeves rolled up. Look, look. Howard, look. Howard, look. Yeah! Come on! I pulled my deck out of my pants. That's not it. Look, no 2 of spades. I said we make history. I said you will never forget. And I don't just do this for me. I don't do this for my boys. I do this for America. Yes! 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 Solid! 2 of spades! Thank you, America!
Okay, absolutely obsessed. So now Without further ado, let's welcome on Matt Schick and Derek Hughes to the show. Hello, gentlemen.
Hello.
Thank you so much for joining me on Avenue A tonight.
Thanks for having us.
It's fun to see that clip. I have not seen that in a while. I call that trick
That's
ace
a
in the
bit of a
hole.
throwback. Say that again.
I call that trick ace in the hole.
Ace in the hole. That's a little too on the nose. Lorraine Biosopich says, LOL, that's my grandma. So you just subjected my grandma to that.
Dreams come true, Kelsey.
That must be kind of a wild thing to rewatch. I mean, that was 5 years ago. That's kind of a while.
Yeah, but it also, feels like a minute too. It's so funny.
It feels like yesterday. I was at Radio City for one of Derek's finale appearances, watching. And I mean, first of all, how cool it was to see your friend just perform in a packed Radio City Music Hall house. But it does feel like it was yesterday. It's amazing how time flies.
That's fantastic.
I avoided doing that show for so long because as a performing artist, I just felt the contest format depresses me so much. Now how every day, everything now is a showcase for a winner. Who's the winner?
Right.
When we're all performing artists. There were so many amazing, talented people on that show that never even made it past the first round, let alone to the finals.
Right.
But I was very fortunate.
But listen, like that's what you brought to the table, in my opinion. Like I was watching all your videos and I was like, there's obviously something special. You got to the final round. And so first of all, I just want to say magic is real. From watching your videos, I'm convinced it's real. You made me believe it's real. You made those judges stand up out of their seats. I mean, that's really something.
Pretty cool.
Amazing. So I'm excited. Before we jump into the interview, can you guys talk a little bit about how you know each other, how you became friends, what capacity you work together, know each other, etc.?
Yeah, so Derek and I met at a magic camp, which, believe it or not, is a real thing. There's a camp for young magicians. It's in its 47th year, off by one maybe, but it's right around there. And it used to be in Long Island, and now it's in Pennsylvania. And I was a camper, and Derek was one of my counselors, and the rest is history, really. It's a camp like Hogwarts, looks like Hogwarts. It's like amazing, the Victorian castle structure at Bryn Mawr College in Pennsylvania. And you just eat and breathe and sleep magic 24/7 while you're there. And it changed my life in so many ways. And Derek was one of my favorite counselors, turned one of my favorite friends that I got to walk away from Magic Camp knowing. And since then, we've worked together on television shows and commercials, and now this new virtual life of ours where I'm the roadie who gets to sit at home backstage while Derek showcases his talents for people across the world.
Wow. So Matt, you're producing for Derek. You're doing like live streamed events and shows. Is that right?
Yep. Yes. When everything went on lockdown, the scramble to get a performance that would translate through this space was on, and Matt was very, very helpful and is still helpful. It's still a work in progress, though. I'm very happy with where the show lives now. We've got a solid 60-minute performance that has running gags, and it builds to a climax, and it's not just what could work in this. It actually has there's moments that actually tell a story. So that's pretty exciting.
That's extremely impressive. I hope you know that. I mean, as an artist myself, I've been working this whole time to try and figure out like what type of art really translates through the screen, and it you really do have to adapt. And there's a lot of art that's being made that is tough to watch just because we're working with this, new medium. So
I think something is very, there's something in our favor as a magic show. My live performance has a ton of audience participation. I'm having people pick cards. I'm having people come on stage. I'm having people think of a word, so it lends itself, method changes a little bit. There's some problem solving, but this still allows me to interact. And as opposed to like a musician, I feel bad for amazing musicians because you can sing your heart out and you can have the best microphone in the world, but you're limited to my dumb speaker. As to how much I'm going to fully experience what you're giving and what you're putting out there.
Yeah, that's so true. Well, your space looks incredible. I mean, before the show, I was literally asking you if that was a green screen, and it's not. It's real. It looks amazing.
No, and this is trial and error. You know, friends, this camera, everything used to be rotated a different way, and it was sort of a classic shelfie with a bookshelf, and it just had no depth of field. And there's certain things I do in the show where, you know, I need to be sort of far away so you can see a full picture. And so I needed to sort of dedicate a corner of space. And it's nice to show off some original vintage magic posters too.
It sure is. I mean, yeah, I was eyeing those before. They look amazing. They really add to the space.
Yeah. My goal is to get a green screen behind this curtain so I can, you know, what's behind the curtain, and I pull it back and it's literally the Wizard of Oz going, no, don't look.
I love that. I can't wait for that development.
Yeah.
So speaking of, you know, your act, I would love, you know, if you're willing to show us something on the show. He's ready. Look at that.
A pack of playing cards.
I'm so excited.
Well, here, listen, let me explain something. You said you were a believer, and that's wonderful, but there's a lot of people who aren't, Kelsey. There's people who are skeptical about magic, and
like
my
Pierce
job is
Brosnan.
to bridge that gap. So look, I have made a commitment to astonishment. And this isn't just for you. This is for everybody who's watching. If there's skeptics watching, this is my commitment to your astonishment. This is a priority. So I brought this priority mail envelope because these are free at the post office. I'm going to seal inside this priority mail envelope my commitment to your astonishment. Sealed inside. Sealed inside my commitment. And this, I'll place it right here in full view. So it won't leave your sight. And now we're going to use
hold
the
on.
card.
I want more witnesses. I'm going to bring on my producer so that she can also witness this. Okay, ready?
Okay.
There she is. Hi, Dana.
Hey guys.
Hi, Dana.
Hey.
So you're here to test this logic as well. All right.
Here's a good question, Dana. Do you feel? Are you a believer, or are you a little skeptical about the existence of magic? You can be honest with us.
Oh, I'm a little skeptical.
Oh, really?
Even after that video.
Let me ask you this: as a skeptical woman, do you feel you have free will?
I do.
You feel you have freedom of choice?
For the most part, yeah.
And you live confidently within that illusion?
That's right.
Most of us do. Well, listen, you will make the final decision here since you are a skeptic. I'm going to start. Matt, I'm going to run my finger along the edge of these cards. Anywhere you want, you say stop.
Stop.
Okay, I heard 2 stops. I was talking to Matt. Who else said stop?
I said stop.
Jesus.
Dana, you and I said stop at the same time.
I know. I think we did too.
So listen, since there was 2 stops, Dana, I'll give you the choice. Should we use these cards or should I get rid of them and we do it one more time? It's up to you.
Do it again.
Fine. Matt.
Let Dana do it. She didn't like my pick.
Fine. Matt, shut up. Dana, anywhere you want.
Stop.
Okay, and I right here, I was going to start going back the other way, but this is where you said stop. Do you want to use these cards or do you want to do it one more time?
I want to use those ones.
Use them.
You want to use these, so get rid of these.
Sure.
Yeah.
Fine.
That's a mess.
Packet B, packet A. Which do you want to use? Do you want to use B or do you want to use A?
Kels, what do you think?
I want to use A.
You want to use A.
Yeah.
So get rid of B.
Get rid of them.
So you don't want any of these.
Nope.
Fine. Packet A, packet B.
Okay.
B.
Oh, Dana, you want to keep B.
Yeah, B.
So get rid of A.
Mm-hmm.
Fine. And then I said you'd have the last choice. Which do you want to keep?
That's
The
an
A.
A.
What's
Dana
that?
said A. Dana said A. Keep A.
No, this name the card. The ace
The A. Mm-hmm.
or the 8.
Ace.
You want to keep the ace
Yes.
and get rid of the 8. Fine. That's crazy because I knew there'd be a skeptic at the show, so I made a commitment to your astonishment.
No.
Here,
No, you didn't.
you picked the ace of hearts. Look, it never left your sight. Nothing else. Inside this envelope, before the show, I sealed another envelope. It's called Dramatic Build. I was a theater major. Look, inside this envelope, in the envelope is one and only one card.
What?
Ace.
Shut the hell up,
I
Derek.
will not shut up. Dana, raise your hands to the sky and say, I believe.
What?
Dana, say,
And
I
her jaw
believe.
dropped.
Say, I believe.
Do it.
I kind of believe.
Damn it.
Are you serious, Derek?
Okay, can we get a demo? That's probably not on our run-up show.
Get
I'm
it down.
astonished.
That's crazy.
Would it help if there was some closing music to the if I showed you the card, the Ace of Hearts?
Turn down for what?
No, that doesn't help.
Down for what?
That does help.
It helps
Fine.
me. It definitely helps
Yeah,
me.
That's
That was
wild.
truly incredible.
Oh my gosh.
Well, that's
Thanks for
you.
letting me
all the
participate.
skeptics out there, and Dana, we have some work to do. We'll have to.
Well, thanks for having me.
Dana,
got
thank
it.
you so much for blessing us with your presence.
Absolutely. Thanks
Backstage
for featuring me on
girl.
the show.
Goodbye.
So
Okay.
you can see there's this is how we can get a number of people up on screen, and people are participating, and there's an interaction. So it even though we're still so far apart and so isolated, the trying to find moments in a show that develop a flow or an interaction, of some sort that doesn't just
Yeah.
feel like we're all just sitting in a room waiting for someone to speak.
That was so impressive too, because I feel like we interrupted your flow a bunch of times. You know what I mean? And you just kept on
You know
going.
what? I live for that. I mean, improvisation. I have years of improvisational study, and it's all for living for a moment where it goes off the rails.
Mm,
I had a teacher years ago say the script is there for when the show doesn't happen.
that's so good.
I like it.
I
Yeah.
love that.
Great.
Wow. Okay. So thank you for kicking us off with that live in person fantastic magic trick. I can't even begin to think about how you did that. It's just magic. It is magic.
You tell everybody you didn't know it was going to happen. Tell everybody watching that you weren't stooged. I didn't tell you what card to pick. Dana wasn't instructed in any way, shape,
I
or
had
form.
no idea. Listen, Dana came on backstage and I was like, Dana, we're going to be on screen for a magic trick. Go change your shirt. And she was like, okay. So that was all real.
Sweet.
Okay, so let's just jump right in. Obviously, we've been talking about this. You both are longtime magicians and performers. Are there certain misconceptions about being magicians that you often have to correct people about? And if so, how do you both respond?
Matt, I'll dive in.
Yeah, you go first.
Just first and foremost, top of the list for me is I'm going to say the majority of people think magic is for children.
Mm.
And I'm going to say that nothing could be further from the truth. Children's lives are already filled with magic. They're the last people on the planet that need magic.
Mm.
Magic is for adults. The best audience for magic is a room full of engineers, people who are logical. They will fall like a giant, beautiful redwood tree in their own
That's incredible.
disbelief. Yeah.
Well, and
Matt?
Derek, you really based your act on getting the audience to doubt you. Like you do this. I see it in your acts. You get them to doubt you first. And then you like really just drop the hammer and then everyone's standing and clapping for you.
I think that's a correct observation. I really like that line of sort of winking and acknowledging like maybe magic isn't real, and then doing something that has absolutely zero explanation. So the only possible solution is that magic does exist.
Yes. And the juxtaposition between like having your audience go through the journey of like, I'm really not sure about this guy. Like he's probably terrible. And then all of a sudden they're like, wait a second. And their brains combust.
Yeah, you just got to hope they don't leave early.
Yeah, right. It's that
Let them just leave
timing.
with like, that guy was terrible.
You're like, wait, no, I haven't done the whole thing yet.
I was just going to say one misconception is a lot of people think that magicians are very secretive people. And in a sense we are, because obviously what we do is based on the fact that the lay people, as we call the muggles in the world, don't know exactly what we're doing. But among our group, our brotherhood of magicians, we're some of the most open people. I mean, it's a very small community. And I know this is an industry show. So there's a lot of people from across the arts who are watching. And just like other facets, other umbrellas of art, magicians are so connected, and just the sharing camaraderie between them is really something unique and special. And it allowed little me to reach out to my camp counselor and befriend him and learn from him. And and just that collaboration that we have is really something special that I don't know that you see everywhere. So magicians, once you're part of the team, we really share and give and believe for the art, and just want it to better it and do the best we can for what it means to us.
Wow, yeah. That's so great to hear. And I love that as an artist myself. Obviously, I'm not in the magic community, but part of the reason why I love the arts is because the people in it are so special, I think. And the communities that are formed within the arts, I think, can be very amazing. There can be some toxicity here and there, but I love that you said that, Matt. It's really heartwarming, and I agree. That's one of the reasons I love being an artist. Yeah,
it's really giving. I mean, the asking. I remember as a high schooler, I remember reaching out. I love producing at a young age, and I remember wanting to do a benefit show, and I reached out to one of my heroes at the time, and still one of my heroes, who's a mutual friend now of Derek's and mine, a gentleman named Matt King, who's now, I believe, is the longest running show in Las Vegas. And as a young kid, I reached out and said, I'm doing this, a higher pitched voice. I'm doing this little show in high school, a benefit show. I want to know if you would fly across the country to New Jersey and participate in my benefit show. And he did. And this is a hero of mine. I mean, this is just absolutely, someone I admired from like the as long as I can remember. And just he just opened up and came and just gave us all. And it was really something special. And that was just such a lesson to me, and just how giving and connected we all are as magicians and artists.
Wow, that's so beautiful. CJ says, I love magic. As an adult, it's less about magic and wonder, more about completely stumping my analytical brain, being impressed that I can't begin to figure it out. Well done. Yes, I think that's, CJ, you put it perfectly. Okay, so Derek, you've gained a lot of notoriety, obviously, for your magic and your performances, and you've appeared on some pretty, national television, which is amazing, and talk shows. So has the experience of performing at such a high level on national TV changed your perception and understanding of performance? And if so, how?
Yeah, I'll tell you, the biggest thing I've gleaned, the majority of my performance has been live on stage with real people. And I think as a magician, it is meant to be experienced live. Even though, many magicians, famous magicians, perform on television, David Blaine, David Copperfield, really, it is meant to be experienced live and in person, which is the greatest challenge to a virtual experience as well, because people, they do. I feel like magic is an art form that you don't just watch, you kind of witness. But that said, the thing I've learned most from the experience I've had is that television is a very hot medium. And what plays great over the course of 7 minutes for a live audience needs to be maybe 4 minutes or less for a televised audience. And I learned that really doing America's Got Talent, they wanted these super short presentations. Can you do it in 90 seconds? Can you do it? What's the shortest you can? And we're talking, routines that do run 7 minutes when they have room to breathe. And I was timing one routine in particular. I was timing it, trimming seconds, finding shorter words, just tight. Because I didn't want to give them room to edit me. I wanted to edit everything that I could ahead of time. So I had more control about how it was presented. And when I watched the final product, I'm like, wow, that seems about the right pace.
Wow.
TV's quick.
In the moment, I bet it felt so quick, like so fast.
Yeah.
I always wondered that, actually, when watching America's Got Talent, specifically for the singers, because I'm a singer, and I would see how short their cuts were of the songs. And I was like, how do these people put it together and still like showcase what they need to showcase in their voice and still have the build of the song and all of that. And I think it's the same concept.
I think some of them aren't able to. You know, you don't really get to see the full artist because get to it, because we got another bio package to show about, you know, someone who got bit by a shark and now they know how to set goals. And
Yes.
Some great, as far as reality television goes, a great magician, Jim Steinmeier, he had worked with many magicians previous seasons, and he gave me a piece of advice. He said, never forget that it's 10% talent show, 90% reality show. And he was so right. I mean, the amount of time on that particular production where you're just being pulled, like you're trying to keep your mind in the game. You're trying to stay focused on what you're about to present for a live audience of 15 million people. And you got someone come over here. And so what did you think of that last performer? And are you nervous? And is your family here? You know, how does your family feel? It's like, shut up. I'm about to play Radio City, man.
Wow. I can't even imagine. That must have been so wild, but so exciting.
Well, training, you know, like really a lot of I'm so glad I have theatrical training and experience on stage, because that came into play, you know. Once you hit your mark,
you're on.
Yeah.
You're in that character. Wow. So it's so cool to hear you talk about that in-person performance and like where you kind of got your notoriety. And I know, Derek, we talked about this before, moving into virtual productions, obviously for the current moment. And Matt, you're producing a lot and you've moved all of your work virtually. So it's very cool to like see that you've seamlessly, you know, moved into this moment of everything being virtual. So Matt, I'm wondering if you can talk about how virtual production has challenged you in ways that in-person production maybe didn't.
Yeah, that's a great question. And it certainly comes with, I'd say, more challenges than less, because, you know, as a producer, which is mostly what I identify with now, I'm a control freak by nature. I mean, that's kind of what producers do. So, I mean, when I am backstage at a show, back in the real world, when we could have real shows, you know, I am personally checking. I change the batteries in the microphones. I have 4 different outs. I've got a backup computer next to me. I know what happens immediately if a light goes out. Who's going to run in and fix that? I feel like I'm a lot more in control. I've got a team and you know, a lot of people who can just jump in. And in this world, we're all just individuals, and I'm at the mercy of my power, at my internet. So is Derek. I mean, Derek and I were on a show recently with another performer, and a tornado came through his neighborhood right before the show, and he lost all power for weeks and had to like run to another location. And within minutes before show, he finally got back up in like a random location. So there's so much uncertainty from a production standpoint that you have to deal with now, because there's a lot that's out of your control. And, you know, as a producer, there's a lot riding on my responsibility. I have clients who will hire me who, you know, these are high stakes event. They spend a lot of money. They have a lot of, you know, really important people who are coming to see these events, whether it be a show that Derek's performing or whether it be a conference, like a pharmaceutical conference. So if something were to go out that I have no control over, at the end of the day, it's on my shoulders, even if I really don't have anything that I can do. So it's just been trying our best to just minimize those things, even when it's impossible to really eliminate risk altogether. And then from entertainment standpoint, Derek really hit the nail on the head. Magic is fortunately for magic, but unfortunately for the arts, one of the few arts that really has survived well in this new environment, because it is participatory and it does kind of break the rhythm of looking at a screen and just watching all day, which all of us we're just on Zoom meetings and just staring at our screens the entire day. So to break that wall and to actually communicate with people, have them interact and like you and Dana, like just watch jaws drop. I mean, even if it's not me on screen, just seeing that energizes you. And that's something that's been really helpful. And Magic's been very popular, especially, you know, shows like Derek's that are just really refined at this point, because it is a nice way of breaking that wall and connecting to people when, you know, unfortunately, a lot of our arts are struggling more with that.
Yeah, that's such an interesting point that you bring up. And that's what I've been struggling with as an actor a lot, because in-person theater really relies on just the feeling of the audience being in there. You know what I mean? Like, it's really an energy. that completely goes away because you're
100%.
not, with most theatrical productions, you're not engaging with the audience. You're not breaking the fourth wall. But it makes sense to me that, you know, magic is all about that and engaging with the audience. So that's great to hear that it's kind of thriving during this time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it was, and Derek as someone who's in front of the camera, I'm sure it's crazy for you. I mean, right before that, Derek, every time I see Derek's show, he gets a standing ovation. I mean, it's filled with laughter and applause and just amazing gasps, and it's exactly what you described. That energy is not lost, but very different when you're used to just standing on stage and soaking it in, standing in front of a computer. And oftentimes, a lot of these shows, you can hear an audience of people. Maybe you hear one or two people, and just the energy and the rhythm and timing, it's all so very different. So I commend Derek for really pushing through that, because as a performer, I could see how incredibly like disheartening it could feel doing a few of these and just really missing the old world of live performance with a real audience.
Well, you can feel very adrift, you know, you can feel, because in a live performance, you're getting a moment to moment dialogue is happening between you and every single audience member that's in the house. And it's tangible. And here, I mean, for the longest time, I didn't know if I was like, is this working? Like, is this working at all? And Matt and I, we did a show that we prefer StreamYard. They did not want to do it in StreamYard. A handful of clients were like, no, we're just going to do it in Zoom. And I was able to kind of hang out like a fly on the wall as audience members stuck around after the show. And I needed that because I could hear them then talking like, that was wonderful. Like, and were you in on it, Tony? No. And it was like, oh my God, thank God.
You're like, this is what I've been needing.
There used to be, there's like this old funny rule in live performance where it's like, if you want to hear what your fans or your critics are saying about you, go hide in the bathroom after the show and just like hide in the stall and listen. And now the Zoom room is the bathroom stall that you can hang out in and listen to what people are saying.
That's so funny. I love that. I love that you can still get that, you know, in a way by being sneaky in the Zoom room. So I have a question for both of you. We've been talking about how you're both, you know, multifaceted artists. You're both producers as well as performers. You know, Derek, you're trained in acting, and you both have your hands on both sides of the wheel, if you will. So I'm wondering what lessons you both have learned from your experience or perspective, being both front and center on stage, but then also behind the scenes, that maybe have most impacted you as artists.
That's a good question. I'll talk from a all right, Derek. I'll talk. I always get that wrong. I'll talk from a production standpoint. I mean, having the experience of being a performer myself, I feel has really, like, it really helps when producing an event, even if it has nothing to do with performance, because you just understand the things to think about. You know when someone needs to step out on stage and how to be hit with lighting, and you're just thinking so many small details ahead of the game that you wouldn't necessarily understand if you never were in that seat yourself. So I think having the both performance and then stage management experience in the real world, I keep saying that phrase, but that is what it is now. It really helps now from a production standpoint, because it still needs to have a nice flow. You still need people to hit their marks, whether it's a mark in the center of a screen or whether it's a mark on a stage. So it's been very, very, I think, important to take that and blend it with just like understanding the tech of what needs to happen in this virtual environment. Derek can do a better job of answering that question than I can.
No, I don't think so, Matt. That's fantastic. And I'll say, you know, when I wear my producer hat, the greatest lesson I've learned is, and it's going to sound maybe, I don't want it to sound trite, but it's anything's possible. You know, and I produce with Matt a magic show for our friend, a wonderful magician named Michael Carbonaro. And, you know, I learned working for Michael to shoot for the stars, because Michael would come into the writing room with these insane aspirations. And, you know, sadly, I'd be a little skeptical, like, okay, well, I'll see if we can pull that off. And over years of being in the production and in the trenches of making this television show under the gun and underfunded And I have come to have great faith in what a team can do when there's a clear vision of what the goal is. And, dream big.
Yeah.
And start working with people, collaborating with people. 'Cause that's where all great things come, I think.
My personal motto of 2020 that I've sort of created for myself is that literally anything goes in 2020, because it's already been such a psycho year. Cuckoo bananas, we all know this in multiple ways. But there is something to be said for, I think, Derek, what you're talking about, like, you can do anything. And that's kind of the perspective that I've gained in this year. Like, yes, things have really gone off the rails. Steven, thanks for tuning in. So much positivity here. We need that right now. Things can really go off the rails this year, but also, like, in the same vein, they can go off the rails, but in a good way. So do you feel like you've tried to embrace that part of this current moment where, like, so much is up in the air and, like, we're not really sure what's happening, but we can kind of do whatever we want?
Yeah. I mean, I'll say an earlier incarnation of me might have said, oh, we're all quarantined, we're all self-distanced, and performance won't work in an online platform. So I'm going to file for unemployment and wait for this thing to be over.
Yeah.
And instead, to use the word of the day and to pivot and to really spend time and energy on creating a full, rich story experience for a new venue. This is now the theater. So,
yeah. And it's remarkable. If Derek was like one of the busiest people I know. If you would have said it, Derek, a year ago at this time, November last year, that next year you would have no live performance and you'd be supporting your family and earning a living from your basement. You wouldn't believe, you think I was crazy. And I mean, you really did just dive in and just started. I mean, this, as Derek said, there's a lot of experimenting and trial and error, and it's still going on to this day. I mean, just before we went live, we were talking about a tech issue we're trying to squash.
Right.
But it just, the ability to stick with it and to strive for
like Matt said, like, this is perfect. You're saying that to dive in and to do it, even when it's not perfect. It's not perfect yet. And that's hard for you, Matt, because you're a perfectionist. It's hard for me as a magician and you as a magician, because magicians, you always learn, you perfect a trick before you try it for anyone. But to just dive in and slowly build it like a snowball rolling up a hill, like a cold Sisyphus.
That's the word of the day.
Sisyphus. To dive in and to take action, to really just, because we're all so complacent and so still and so stuck in the mud, but to do what you did, you started this production because that's what you as an artist and a performer could do. You could turn on a camera and you could invite friends to connect and to talk. And
thank you for saying that. And I think that's so true. That's what I've been trying to embrace during this time, because it is so easy, like you said, to feel that complacency and just, like, I think we've all been mourning the loss of what we knew our careers to be, and it's easy for a lot of artists to get caught in that, I think. But I love your perspective, Derek, just in, like, kind of taking the reins of this new horse that we're on. And really, it's so awesome that, you've developed your act and that you're so booked. I mean, that's the dream. That's amazing.
I count my blessings every single day.
Well, it doesn't come without hard work, and, like, really just embracing the new platform. So I think that's what I'm going to take away from this interview, just, like, really inspired about how you made it happen and adapted to the moment. It's awesome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, gentlemen, we are over time. We took that interview and we ran with it, and I'm so happy and I feel blessed that you two joined me on the show today. It was such a pleasure. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
Hey. Oh my gosh.
Derek, your sound guy needs to rein it in a little bit.
Your sound guy is popping all the way off.
It's my 9-year-old son, so he's shut up, Edward. Stop it.
That's child labor.
Thanks for having me on the show.
Thank you
Thanks
so
so
much.
much.
Thank you for doing your magic for us. I'm a believer. I will always be a believer. And I think that you transformed Dana as well. So that's a win. Maybe.
We got another 2, Derek.
Well, thanks again. And I hope you guys enjoy your weekend.
Awesome. You too. Thanks so much.
Take care. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for tuning in, everyone. I saw a lot of people in the comments. Thanks for tuning in, Steven and CJ. Your comments are amazing. Mom, OG, thanks for being here. Love you. That was so fun. And thank you for tuning in. Oh, if you want to follow these amazing people on Instagram, you can find them. Matt is at It's Matt Schick on Instagram. And then Derek is at Stand Up Magician, both on Instagram. And then if you want to check out their websites, you can do that. Derek is at derekhughes.net. And then Matt's production company, you can find him at runmystream.com. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we will see you next week.